Hey guys, what's up? It's me. Come on in the room. Sorry I'm a couple minutes late, but I'm here. That's what matters. Is I'm here. Just putting my phone on, do not disturb, cause y'all know it's almost like it's always guaranteed one person who you haven't talked to in a year that was gonna call you as soon as you go live. So, definitely making sure of that. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Conversations from Paris. Come on in the room. This will be brief. I guarantee you this will be brief. Do y'all see my shirt? I found this shirt at this lovely place. I found this shirt at this lovely place. And it was like, I think it was called like, I don't even remember the name of the place. I'm gonna try to remember, but I love it. It says God's favorite, because I am. Hey mom, how are you? Love you. I just thought that was so cute. It's not cocky, guys. It's just confidence, right? Because I know we're all God's favorite. So I just happen to know I am his as well. So yeah, I just was like, I got to get that shirt. Thought it was really cute. So how have you guys been? I know I did not show up the last few weeks, but that's okay. I am learning that consistency is great, but it's really, to me, it's much better when you are rested. I am working on being a better version of myself and being true to life's demands, right? Self-care, right? That's what we talk about. So I have taken necessary self-care breathers, and I'm not gonna apologize about it, because how can I teach you to do self-care and emphasize it for you if I don't implement it? So it's been interesting, to say the least, but I am grateful. So y'all, this is not gonna be a long live. Like I said, I didn't really know what I was going to talk about a few days ago, but then I said something came up really strong like 2 days ago, and I'm like, I'm going to talk about it. And so I know you guys probably saw my topic, and the topic is you have the wrong address. I wanted to catch your attention some kind of way, but you have the wrong address, and the real topic is imposter syndrome, right? So I'm sure you guys heard of that word. It's been a buzzword for the last few years, and for me, I didn't really know what it meant. In my mind, it had nothing to do with me at all, and so I'm sure to the average person, they don't think that they suffer with it at all either. I think I would be willing to say that you don't believe that you suffer from it or have ever dealt with it unless you know you have low self-esteem, right? That might be a moment where you're like, well, yeah, I do know I suffer with it. But in my mind, nope, that's not my issue. I don't have that problem. So I didn't think it was a real thing. So oh boy, but I learned the definition, and I'm like, wow. Not only have I been through it, but I still suffer with it from time to time, and I think we all have at least once at one point in time. Now, I'm sure there's somebody who might say, no, this is not an issue I've ever dealt with, and I can't say that you had to. But once I explain it, once I give the definition, then you tell me how you feel about it. Then you kind of get to me and tell me if you really believe it's possible to have dealt with this before. So, let me give you a definition. Imposter syndrome. And I'm going to give you, it's two definitions. Yeah, I hate doing sometimes regular definitions because I feel like they leave a lot to be desired. But I'm going to give you a regular definition, and I'm going to give you the psychology definition. Because let's be clear, I'm going to always give you the part from the psychology end. Imposter syndrome is, from the dictionary, from Oxford Dictionary, the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. I'm going to say that again. The persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. Okay? And so that's like the main definition. If I go into the psychology a little bit, I'll give it a little bit deeper one. People that struggle with imposter syndrome believe that they don't deserve their achievements and the high esteem that people give to them. They usually feel like they're not competent or intelligent enough, as others might think, right? And they're fearful normally that people will find out the truth about them. Okay? They are fearful that people will find out the truth about them. Good evening, D'Angelo. Hey, Trey. And so this is what we're talking about today, because the reality is, I think if we could be honest, we have all kind of questioned ourselves before and been a little unsure about if we took a step that was a big step and we're really truly ready for it. Are we really where we're supposed to be? Are we qualified enough, right? And so I really want to get a little deeper into this, right? And so I'll be honest with you, I'm really not going to go super deep today. I might do a part 2. And let me tell you why. Because as I was doing the research, I realized that not only is it a real thing, but there are different types of imposter syndromes. And that better describe, right? And some of those terminologies you've heard of, but I don't think you realize they went under the same category, right? So I thought that was pretty cool. So let me go back. So let's talk about it. I think the first word that you think of is a fraud. And that's why I disassociated with imposter syndrome. I'm not a fraud. I didn't think I was for a long time. And you hear the but, right? It's going to come in a minute. I didn't really feel that way. But I believe that that is a temporary or a false feeling, right? About the fraud. Oftentimes they use words like it must have been just luck, my timing was good, or that, I can't keep this up. You might see it in, let's talk about academic environments, career paths, entrepreneurship, personal relationships, right? I mean, that's one that I didn't expect to see, but I know it to be true. Like, you can be like, well, you know what? I really have a great group of friends around me, but you might start to feel like you are not deserving of their friendship, not deserving of their time and their investment in you and energy. And so, listen, when I say this goes all across the board, you can feel like an imposter when it comes to being a good mother or father. You can get praise from other people like, oh my God, you're such a good parent. And then in your head thinking, but they don't know that I yell at them all the time. They don't know that I don't, spend as much time. They don't know I don't help with his homework as much. They don't know I don't really get to the games how I need to. Not to say that any of those things disqualify you. I'm just saying, even for me, there have been times when people are like, oh, you do such a great job. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? But those were inner insecurities, right? That showed up and tried to tell me that I didn't, right? And so I'll even give you one that's a little bit more subtle. Has somebody ever given you a compliment and said, oh girl, you look good, or sir, you look nice today? And you say, oh, this old shirt, or oh, this old dress, or this old suit, it's no big deal. Yeah, I just got it here. And then you dumb down what they said about you, because a part of you doesn't want them to think that you think you're here, and a compliment makes you uncomfortable, and it makes you feel as though, wow, they see me, and I actually was more comfortable with blending into the back, right? I actually was more comfortable with just not being noticed. So somebody noticing you like, wait, does that mean all eyes are on me? So that is something I thought was like, whoa, I didn't, once I sat down and I started going through it, I'm like, that's imposter syndrome too. So when I tell you, I think it's touched all of us before. It really has. And so I think it is a epidemic. We're not going to use the words and go there right now in this moment. I can pull it from both sides. But I think it's definitely a problem in our community. Hey, Ebony girl. I think it's definitely a problem where we do not talk about it enough. You hear the buzzword. So what I'm trying to get you guys to do is not just hear the buzzword, look at the definition, find out what it means, and then keep going about life. And what I think people do, let me tell y'all what I think people do. What I think we're doing is we're acting like Pokemon collectors. Like, I never really watched that show, but I know my son did at one point. And so didn't they have like little pouches and bags? And then they like have these little, whatever they are, the Pokemon creatures, and then they put them in the bag and collect them, right? If I'm correct, this is what I believe they did. And I think we do that to these psychological terms. Hear me out. We find out, oh, this is anxiety or high performance anxiety. Oh, I have that. Let me tuck it in my bag. Ooh, depression. Oh, I have SADS, which is seasonal, affective depression syndrome. Oh, I have that. Let me put it in my bag. Oh, I have a little PTSD. You put that in the bag. You know what? Imposter syndrome. I definitely got that one. Let me put it in the bag. And although I am all about learning and being aware of your emotional state, your psychological, socio-emotional state, while I'm completely grateful that we are starting to have these conversations, what we have to be careful to do is to not claim them and own them like a little pet, and then make them a part of, like, make that a part of who we are, so much so that we are not addressing it, and we almost normalize it, and we allow it to become a part of our personality. You get what I'm saying? Like, it becomes a place where you expect to deal with anxiety because you have told yourself that you're anxiety prone. You expect to deal with a depressive state when things don't go well because you have now claimed it. And I'm not saying that these things don't exist. I am saying that instead of you saying, oh, I'm going to get treatment for my depression and or anxiety and or imposter syndrome and or whatever, PTSD, you start to believe that these things are just things to collect and they're part of who you are. And you need to just be aware of it. And I would, watch what I'm about to do here. I would be operating in imposter syndrome if I did not tell you as a mental health advocate that is doing a grave disservice to you. That is literally doing much more harm than it is doing good. And let me tell you why. You have a false sense of security when you think that just because you know what a thing is, that you now have it under control. That is so dangerous. It's so dangerous. So, let me pull it back and center it into what we're talking about, imposter syndrome. So, if you believe that you have it or have dealt with it, that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. I don't want you to take a deep breath like, oh my God, I know what that is now, and that's all I needed. It's great that you know what it is. It is not all you need. I'm going to repeat that. It is great that you now know what it is. It is not all that you need. It is great that you are aware of what these symptoms are. But let's get to the root. It is time to get to the root. The purpose of knowledge is to expand yourself. The purpose of knowledge is to get past the surface and get deep. The purpose of knowledge is to use it and to be able to be a better person because of it, to apply it, right? Knowledge that is not applied is wasted. Have you ever heard somebody say, oh, I have a lot of like pointless knowledge that I can't use? I don't necessarily believe in pointless knowledge, but I do believe that there is a way that you can learn a lot of things without application and absolutely it goes to waste. Let me go a step further. Let's even say there are times that there is really good knowledge that you know that you absolutely do need. But if you don't take it and apply it, it is still wasted. Let me say that again. There are times where you have things that you absolutely needed to know. But because you did not apply that knowledge, it's pretty much like a waste in your body, and it's just not doing anything. It's you might as well didn't read that book, sis. Bro, you might as well didn't take that webinar, because if you are not using the information, it's harder to retain information you don't apply. That's a fact. That's a fact. If you cannot figure out how to apply that information, you kind of waste it, which is why I used to wonder why people say, oh, I read a book several times and I do it regularly, and I always be like, why do you read a book multiple times? And I get it, because most times people are reading, and the first time you read it, you're not really getting it. You're just trying to get through it, and you're taking bits and pieces of it. But sometimes by the time you read it the second time, you really can say, oh, wow, okay, I remember this start, so I can get a little deeper. And if you really are studying it, if you go back a third time, you can probably say, oh, okay, I got this the first time. The second time this, oh my God, I'm tying these experiences into my life. Here's action plan. And you can take notes to really be able to apply the knowledge that you learn. Yes, Tracy, you said if you don't apply the knowledge, it's a waste of energy. It is. And so the thing is that I want you to, I feel a burden for teaching you about something, but also giving you practical steps, right? And really about you understanding that you don't just have to live with something that is going on emotional, mental, or spiritually with you, right? You just don't have to. You can choose to say, okay, now that I'm aware of this, let me move differently. Now that I'm aware of this, let me get some help. Now that I'm aware of this, these are the things I can do to, push me forward. So let's get a little deeper. So imposter syndrome, sometimes we don't like to hear this, but sometimes it really starts in childhood, right? And let me just tell you the very simplest way, right? When you do play, when kids play and they pretend like they're a firefighter or pretend like they're a doctor or whatever they pretend to be, excuse me, they are in fact practicing. They are taking something and they are, pretending to be that. And they learn that you can pretend to be a lot of things. Well, as you get older, we disassociate from the idea of play. And we kind of frown on the idea of pretending or having an active imagination. So I believe, though, there are some people that have more of active imagination than others. And so I fight to say that there's comfort in believing that you're really not who people think you are. Let me hear me out, because I know you're thinking like, well, why would anybody want to not feel like people know them? I'm going to help you out with that. I think there are people who like the mystery. I think they use their persona, which is who people perceive you as a shield. And they like the idea that who you think they are is good enough. And this is kind of reverse of imposter syndrome, so just stick with me for a minute. Y'all know I'm going somewhere. Y'all know I go around the block sometimes, but I want you to hear me. There are some times when you really literally have people that are like, hey, If this is who you think I am, cool. Because I really don't want to have to, I don't really want you to know who I really am. So it's good that you think I'm that person. I can kind of hide behind that shell and say, whew, they almost figured me out. But let them believe who I am on the surface is who I am, truly. And I think it's a safety for a lot of people. I think they can hide in who you think they are. They can hide behind that. And I almost call it like a mask. People are really good at hiding. People are really good at making you think they're one thing and they're really not, as a benefit to them, because they don't really want to be vulnerable. They don't want to be exposed. They're fearful as well. Well, there are a couple things. They're fearful that you might get to know them and not like the real them, or that you might actually start to criticize who they are. They have rejection issues. There's abandonment issues. Once you get to know the real me, you won't want to be around. There are a lot of different things. Like I said, it's no good to know the symptoms and not deal with the root. I'm going to say that again. It's no good to know the symptoms and not deal with the root. So these are the type of things I know for a fact. You have a lot of people walking around with masks on. Remember, we just came out the pandemic and we wore masks on our face. And a lot of times you can see somebody you know and not really recognize them because the mask covered up most of their face and you didn't recognize them. And so I believe that people are still walking around with masks on, with these personas, and you don't really know who they are, and they like it that way, right? That's one side. The other side is, I believe that there are people who are walking around, it is their true self, but they feel very disconnected from that version of themselves. Let me explain it again. Let me say it again, and then I'm going to explain it. There are people that walk around and they are showing you, they're finally showing you and walking in their truth. They got the courage to walk in their truth. But however, they feel very disconnected from that part of them. Let me explain that a bit more. So, if somebody's a teacher, I'll say a teacher at a school, right? And they, in their mind, I'm going to work every day to make money, do what I need to do. I do like kids. I like to help people learn, but sometimes I don't feel like I'm really effective at what I'm doing, and I'm not really feeling like I'm really doing much to help the world. I feel kind of stuck in the system, and I don't really think that I'm doing much. And so they actually have a passion to teach, but they just don't feel like they are where they could be. And so what happens is, let's say somebody comes up and they come and give them an award and say, oh my God, you're the teacher of the year, or you are, I don't know, I won't even say teacher of the year, you're my kid's favorite teacher, and the student wrote a moving poem or something to say that you have affected my life so greatly that I'll never forget you and I'm a better person after meeting you. That teacher might sit there and really be overwhelmed because they don't see themselves that way. They think that they are just doing what they're supposed to do. They don't think that they deserve that credit. They also are uncomfortable in the spotlight being praised. That's another thing. They are uncomfortable being praised because they are worried that if you're saying these great things, and if they don't always measure up to these great things that you're saying about them, then they're going to be looked at as a fraud. They're going to be looked at as a failure, and that they can't keep up. So now they feel added pressure because you have now said, this is who you perceive me to be, and they don't feel like that's who they are. Okay? So you can see how it's very easy for you to have that imposter syndrome in almost any aspect of life, right? I'm going to give you some statistical facts. We just talked about high achievers. About 30% of high achievers deal with imposter syndrome. And like I told you, I thought that most people have dealt with it. They said about 70% of people have dealt with it at least one point in their life. I know it was a big amount. I think maybe more. I don't think a lot of people admit to it. However, 25 to 30% of high achievers. That means the smartest of the smart. That means the most accomplished. That means the people that's in the limelight. 25 to 30 of them deal with imposter syndrome. I need you to know that, because I need you to understand how common it is to not really feel like you fill out the shoes that you're in. To not really feel like you're as great as everybody say you are. To not really feel like you are worthy of the acknowledgement and or the favor that you're getting, right? And it's a dangerous place to be when you're in imposter syndrome, because what happens a lot of times today, you will dumb yourself down, you will self-sabotage, and sometimes you can really go deep into anxiety and depression, and I don't want that for anybody. But let's just be, let's go a little deeper. So I think I want to just give you a couple of things that triggers it. Like I told you, the number one thing is calling attention, like bringing attention to someone's success, them receiving an award, them being promoted at work, them being publicly praised. Those success stories that they should make them happy cause their insecurities to be highlighted. Okay? And so it becomes a thing of you're saying, oh my God, you're so great. And what happens is that person then, they're here and they shrink down to this person like, oh my God, are they mocking me? Do they really believe I'm great? Oh my God, they're going to see right through me. Oh God, I wish they just stopped. Take the light off of me. Like, I want to fade to the back. I want to just be back here where if I mess up, if I'm not who I'm supposed to be, people won't notice. They won't be mad. They won't be disappointed. People won't leave me. They won't abandon me. They won't reject me. You see how these root things come up from the thought process of where you're at. It's really easy to trigger that. And so you would think that, oh, the way to help people is to tell them how great they are. No, actually telling them how great they are makes them feel worse, which seems like the opposite effect, right? So I'm gonna help you out. The imposter syndrome is not an official diagnosis. It is not in a DSM. Again, it is a symptom of bigger issues, right? But it is definitely something I feel like it's worth talking about, right? It is a big word, and I feel like we need to talk about it. I think that we have to be very careful with this imposter syndrome, because it is very, very, very closely linked to perfectionism. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. Because I, Paris Johnson, dealt with perfectionism and still to this day deals with it sometimes, okay? And, oh my God, it is a constant battle. It really is. And it's interesting because, to be honest, it's rooted in pride. To be honest, it's rooted in wanting to be the best. Because if you're not the best, what does that mean? If you're not the best, does that mean that you'll be rejected? If you're not the best, will people like you? If you're not the best, will people abandon you? What will people think if you make a mistake? Will they remove love? You might think it's not that deep, but I tell you that those thoughts are deeply planted and rooted in other stuff. So we have to be honest about what this is so we can properly get to the root. It's like, y'all remember that show, what was it called? House. I used to love House. I forget the doctor's name. But he was a genius, and what he would do is take the hard cases, and he would deal with cases that no other doctors, no other hospitals could figure out. People on their last like limb, and they're like, "Hey, if you don't help me out, like I don't know what's gonna happen." And so he would look into every diagnosis, every symptom, and he would dissect it. He had a board that he would literally write every single thing up, and he would trace it out, or what this can mean, and see what overlaps came. And it was a very tedious process, and most times he was wildly successful, sometimes he wasn't successful, and he didn't have enough time. But the point of me bringing it up was that he showed you that every symptom matters. So like when people are trying to diagnose you with something, or when you're trying to figure out what's going on, you cannot pretend like something did not happen or it's not real, and or be too ashamed to talk about it. Like if you go to the doctor but you're scared to say what's really going on with you, you have wasted a visit. Ask me how I know. Y'all know I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I've done it. I've gone to the doctor and I'm like, oh, I don't want to tell them that. They're going to judge me for me saying that this is something I deal with. And I have wasted visits before like that. Until I got older and I was like, are you kidding me? I need help. And if my doctor can't help me, who can help me? Like at some point that pride, whatever, that ego has to get to the side because I need help. So in this case, this is a symptom of a bigger issue. So if we can identify this imposter syndrome and say, oh yeah, I do deal with that, then there's a segue where we can get down to the real stuff, the real nitty gritty. We can start listing out the issues. So like when I talked about perfectionism and how it's closely linked to imposter syndrome, like that should be some that should help out, right? The fear of success, that's a huge one, right? So many people who deal with imposter syndrome fear success so much. And I used to think, how do people fear success? Baby, I found out and I think it's deeply rooted with fear of responsibility. I think it's easier to fail sometimes for people. When they're so used to failing, there's nothing to be expected from you. But when you succeed, they feel there's extra pressure to stay here. So like it's like you're used to being here, and then you finally get here, and you're like, that's a steep fall back down to what I'm used to. So maybe I'm not comfortable up here because maybe you have expectations of me here that I'm not used to maintaining, and it's more comfortable in the slums. Y'all, I'm preaching better than y'all talking. I'm telling you, this is something I know people deal with. I think I've dealt with it at times. I know I've dealt with imposter syndrome, but I'm saying that specific thing. I've dealt with the idea that it's easier for people not to notice me. Like I really, at one time, just like to be on the wall, chilling in the back. Here is a vulnerable moment in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My parents are both ministers, and when they used to preach at church, they know this, so it's not like I'm saying it. They know exactly this already, but I'm just going to tell y'all. When they would preach in church, when they about to preach, they would say, hey, these are my beautiful children. And most people would be like, oh, that's amazing. I'm the oldest. Remember, I told you I used to like to fade to the back. So when they would ask me to stand up, I need you to understand all type of, like I wanted to die. Like I literally was like, oh my God, why do they want me to stand up in front of all these people? And so the whole church, everybody would just turn around and look. And it made me sink down inside. I hated it. I hated it, hated it, hated it. And this is nothing to my parents. I know sometimes they probably thought, why is she having an issue with this? But it was really personal to me. It highlighted that I preferred to not be called on. I preferred to kind of be in the background. I preferred to just be there. I didn't like the spotlight. The spotlight, to me, let me just be honest, here's my vulnerability here, and this, maybe you guys can identify with this. The spotlight, to me, illuminated you in a way where people could point out your imperfections. That's so good. That's so good that I just said that. I think that's even a aha moment for me, and I hope it's an aha for you. It feels like exposure. It's like, I was good back here. Now that you bring me to the front, all eyes on me. All eyes on me. It was not a Tupac song. Okay, sorry. But I'm focused. But it's like that moment where you're afraid that they're going to see you and find something that is not worthy, to deem you not worthy, something that is going to expose you, to make you vulnerable, to give somebody something to pick apart. And so if you have any insecurity, it will then really blow up. And it's honestly a battle of the mind, because people probably not even thinking anything about those things that you are thinking of, but it is huge to you, right? Because all those insecurities start to rise to the top and tell you you should run, you shouldn't be there. And so again, that's another example. So yeah, I hope this is like making sense, right? Let me tell you something. That fear can be very much paralyzing and painful, and it really has to do something with identity. I think I'm gonna have to do another live, because I don't want to go too long on it today. But I'm trying to tell you, like, identity comes into play here. Not knowing who you are, not walking fully in who you are, or when you start to walk there, being unsure that you really are who you say you are, who your creator says you are. I believe in God. Who God says you are. It's important, right? So, how do we overcome imposter syndrome? That's a loaded question, and it's not going to be achieved today. And I can't give you all of this; it's too much to do. However, I'll give you some small ideas. The main thing is mindset work, right? It absolutely works. Deals with mindset work. Like I told you, imposter syndrome is not a diagnosis. However, it's a symptom of bigger root issues that we need to deal with, right? And most of the time, it's about not being like you, feeling like you belong, not feeling like you, fit in the shoes that you're in. And so getting to, it should open a conversation for you to say, wow, there's some stuff that I really didn't realize that is in my life that I have not dealt with, I have not healed from, I have not even attempted to look at. And so that is the first thing, is being able to at least take a journal and to start to think about some of those feelings that are coming up, and attaching things to them, right? Like a brainstorm, like, okay, this is why I feel like I'm an imposter, because use those because statements, because of this, because of that, because of that. And then from there, you can kind of try to take keywords and say, wow, is that rejection? Is that abandonment? Is that the fear of success? Is that fear of failure? Is that, the fear of responsibility? And it's not always easy to do those things on your own. And I'm not saying you should know how to do them. I'm just giving you some ideas on how to go about it, right? Because what's the point of knowing and not actually working on it? It's important, though, to really work on this, because, to be honest with you, it will stifle you and frustrate you and cause you to self-sabotage. It is real. It's tangible. It will not go away because you pretend like it's not there. It's not something for you to put in your bag and tuck it away and say, this is just part of who I am. This is who what I deal with. There's nothing I can do about it. It is something you can do about it. It is an indication that there is work to do. It is an indication that you have to do more for yourself. And so I think I'm going to stop there, because I think I need to do another live and maybe get a little bit more. I'm going to decide, if I feel like it's more to dig into, because it's definitely more, but it's deeper, right? And so I'm not sure if I can get as deep as I want to in this short amount of time. But I think I think you guys got the point. I think you understand what it is, why it's important to look for, what are some of the symptoms, what does it really point to, and why it's important for you to look into, right? I really believe that you don't want this feeling that you were walking around and you're not worthy of how people view you or your accomplishments. You don't want that to be your story. I believe there are more people that deal with this than they will ever admit. Okay? And, listen, I could tell you a personal story recently about something I struggle with. I think it's too recent. It's like today recent. And so I'm going to leave that for a later story, but I'm telling you, I deal with it from time to time. The difference is I've dealt with it before, and I acknowledge when it comes up, and I'm able to go back and say, okay, I understand why we are here. And you know what? I have the tools to make sure that I can reverse that my mindset is healed. I'm just, dipping in my toe into something that was so familiar for so many years. And so now I realize I don't have to stay there. I come back out of it. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you got something from this. Let me know in the comments where you felt that was helpful. Let me know if you ever dealt with imposter syndrome. If y'all want to give me some examples of what things might have happened or a story, please feel free. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if you suspect that you have it. And also let me know if there's any ways I could support you. Oh yeah, I almost didn't say anything. Today I launched my inner healing sessions. And it's been a long time coming. I did some classes last year that were really great, and I'm going to bring those back out. But I've had people ask me, hey, are you doing any individual things? And I really wasn't sure if I was going to, but yes, I think it's absolutely necessary. So if you want to go to my website, it is www.parispjohnson.com. You can sign up for a 30-minute free consultation to see if it's a good fit for you. Just to see, right? Because it's definitely, I think, beneficial. So that's my website. It's across the bottom. It says for shirts and sweatshirts, but just the same website, parispjohnson.com. Again, I'm excited about this. I am excited for people to do the work. It's not going to be easy, but nothing worth it was easy. And it is necessary, and it's going to help you grow and be the version of you that you need to be, that you want to be, the version of you that you deserve to be. It's going to be the freedom that you need to really not be an imposter and be all of you. So, yes, guys, go ahead and sign up. See if this is a good fit for you, because I'm here to help, and we all can use some help. So I love you guys. I'm grateful that you stopped in with me. If you are watching the replay, please type in replay so I can know. Again, I try to interact with every person that puts a comment on here. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message on my website or even in the comments. Or you can DM me or whatever. It should be pretty easy to contact me. I'm here to help. So as I always say, you guys are enough. You are enough to do the work. Sometimes we do work on everybody else. We help everybody else, but we don't invest in ourselves. Please invest in your own healing. It is necessary. It's not good enough to say, I know this is wrong with me, and that's just how it's going to be. Nope. That's like saying, oh, I know I got an open gash on my arm, but I'm cool. No. I don't want to go and get it fixed. I don't want to stitch it up. No. I'm good. No, I understand I'm bleeding everywhere. I get it. I'm bleeding everywhere. That's not, come on, y'all. Not in 2023. I kind of put up with it in 2020 and 2021. Hey, in 2022. Not in 2023. We're going to walk around being the best versions of ourselves possible, for real. Not just saying it, but like actual tangible evidence, measurable evidence. So it's only up here. It's only up from here, y'all. I love y'all. I will talk to y'all later. Have a good evening. Till next time.